Welcome back to the DFS Sweatshop. I am your host, the DFS Jerusalem, and you can follow me on Twitter at DFS Jerusalem. Going to be recapping yesterday's 8-game slate. We had 2 games that were a part of that early DraftKings slate, as well as the 6 games that were a part of the main slate. We're going to go with our usual formatting of the show. We're going to do the recap, jump into our Core 4 review. That's where we take a look at the guys that I tweeted out earlier. The 4 guys that I was looking to were my locks to get that 6x value for today. Then we're going to be jumping into the feature 4 players. Those are the most talked about, tweeted about players in the DFS Sweatshop on Twitter. And then I'll be showing you my best DraftKings lineup. We're going to look at some player pricing to go ahead and develop our player pool going into tomorrow's slate. And then we're going to do a game-by-game breakdown of the point totals to see where we can get the most bang for our DK bucks. Now, pretty good day today. Didn't do anything major. Just kind of made a couple bucks today. There was some NFL going on, so I know a lot of guys were in the process of doing those NFL things. I know I had a few lineups in. My Giants won today, beat the Cleveland Indians. That's not too much to brag about, but a win is a win. We'll take it. We are still behind the Cowboys, 2 games back, I think we are now. So let's go ahead and jump right into the Core 4 review. Every day, either I release a video or I send out a tweet. If it's 6 games or more, I am going to look at the entirety of the slate, and I'm going to say, hey, these are 4 guys that I really like that are going to help me to return 6x value and get me off on the right foot on my way to the 300 club. Now, in completion of the 8-man DraftKings roster, once I set those 4 guys to the side, guys that I start every lineup with, I go out and I try to find 2 players that I'm going to get from the DFS community. I'm going to be listening to certain podcasts. I'll name a few. I'll listen to Josh Lloyd's podcast. He does a very good show. It's used to be called Red Rock Basketball. I think it's called Locked On Basketball. Really great pod that you can check out. I listen to, of course, I check out the Roto Grinders, the Fantasy Labs, Fan Vice is another one. There's a ton of places. Gundacker, the homie Gundacker. There's a ton of places where I go to get that DFS knowledge. And what I do is I listen to all of those sites and I come up with 2 chalk plays. 2 guys that a lot of people are going to be on because everybody's talking about them. I picked 2 of the guys that I hear the most that I kind of like a little bit myself, and I put those guys in that 8-man roster, which brings me to 6. I've got my core 4, plus I've got the 2 that I've gotten from the industry. Now, the next 2 players to round out the 8-man roster are going to be plays that I get from the actual NBA. When I check on Twitter and I hear certain beat writers or I read tweets from certain beat writers from certain teams, and they tell me, hey, this guy is not going to play, so this guy will play. Or this guy got suspended, so this guy is going to play in his place. I grab 2 plays from those, and those are usually where I get my value from. Because a lot of times if a guy's not a starter, he's going to be stepping into a starting role. He's not priced up as he was if he would be if he were a starter. So I'll break this down for you. This is just my roster building process. This is the way I build my rosters, and I just wanted to share that with you guys. Maybe you can do the same thing, because if I build my roster this way and you use the same formula, there's a very small chance that we're going to have the same lineup. We may be on similar players, but we probably won't have the same lineup. So the formula that I'm using can work for anyone, right? Let's go ahead and jump into the Core 4 review. We're going to start with the worst of probably the worst player this year to ever be involved in one of my Core 4 plays, and it's Darren Williams. You've got to understand one thing about me. If you follow the show, I am a strict tournament player. I play tournaments. So the guys that are going to be very low owned, the guys that not a lot of people are going to be on, those are the people that turn me on. No homo. Now, Darren Williams coming off an injury, I knew the ownership on him was going to be less than 3%. I knew that going in. I also saw that the price point was 4.4K. And I'm thinking a seasoned veteran coming off a kind of not so serious injury. There's other guys on the team hurt. We've got JJ Barea who was hurt. We've got, so many other cats. Dirk Nowitzki was out. So many guys on the Dallas team was hurt. I said this might be a nice spot to go ahead and pick up a cheap 15-point, 10 assist double-double and get that quick 30, 33, 34 points for 4.4K. That's why I jumped on Deron Williams. And I got word that he was, in fact, going to be playing without a restriction. So that's why he made the core 4. He was definitely a value play that I liked. And he was 1% owned, just like I thought, going to be less than 3%. So he was in position. He was 4.4K, left me a lot of salary to pay up for another stud. And he went out and scored 15 DraftKings points. Now, the personal, I want to name him a snowflake of the night, but I can't do that because that's a chance play that I took. I can't put that on Deron Williams. I can't put the fact that I was a part of the 1% of motherfuckers who started him, that he got to be a snowflake. So he's cool. He's off the hook. Next guy we're going to talk about is CJ McCollum. This is a play that I was very high on. I was stuck to this play immediately, and you're going to see this recurring theme from anytime James Harden is on the slate. I'm going to roster the guy who's going to go at him, and that was CJ McCollum on today. Now, he was 15% owned. I was kind of surprised. Thought it would be a little higher owned. It was only a 6-game slate. He was 15% owned at 7.5K. He went out and scored 47.75 DraftKings points. Very nice showing from CJ McCollum. That was very close to the 7X, but it was about a 6X value. That's what we're looking for as a floor. So CJ McCollum did fit the bill, played a great game. That was great. The next guy we're going to talk about is going to be Anthony Davis. Now, he was 20% owned. I didn't think the ownership was going to be this high on him. I didn't see it being 20%. Because I knew that James Harden was going to be the most heavily owned player on the slate. He was at 34 to 41% owned in some GPPs. But at 11.3K, 20% ownership, Anthony Davis has 63.25 DraftKings points. He did not meet the value that I expected. I was looking for at least 70 points from him. I thought he was really going to go off and be in a great spot, and he was. But he almost got there, so it wasn't horrible. But you got to think, part of and see, this is just me talking about the roster building and really digging into what it means to build a good roster. Part of this you got to look at, the cheaper the player, the better the chance of him returning the value. The more expensive the player, the harder it is for him to get that 6, 7, 8X. And we've got to take that into consideration when we roster these studs. I should have known that it was going to be damn near impossible for Anthony Davis to get that 70 points against a Dallas team that played kind of a slow pace. There was going to be a lot of missed shots. I just thought that he was in a prime spot to really go off. And he had a great game. He played 63 DraftKings points. You can't really argue with that. But that wasn't the 6, 7X value that I needed in order to really make a dent in the tournament. Now, the next guy we're going to talk about is Dennis Schroeder. I had a feeling his ownership was going to be less than 10%. He came in about 8.6% owned at 5.5K. He had 31 DraftKings points. Now, this game kind of got away from him in the fourth quarter. We could have saw him on the floor for a little bit longer. He needed 2 more assists, I think, to hit the double-double bonus. But altogether, this core 4, they were supposed to get 172.2 DraftKings points. They got 157.1, I think. 157 DraftKings points. So that means I am minus 15.2 when it comes to my target goal. This core 4 was not a good one. It was not a good one. And the beautiful thing about this, when I shared it with you, a lot of you was like, yo, I don't know about that Deron Williams shit. So maybe you use CJ McCollum and Anthony Davis, or you use Dennis Schroeder and CJ McCollum. I still saw a couple of guys being used, so I felt like I did help some guys to go ahead and hit that 300 club, which I did not. My best score was 289 DraftKings points. Now we're going to talk about the feature for player of the night. Man, we had some really good games tonight, but the Who Dat scoring all them points over there, player of the night, definitely goes uh, definitely goes to Eric Gordon. Eric Gordon had an excellent game, came off of the bench and scored 42.75 DraftKings points. That was an awesome game for Eric Gordon. I know it's going to be a confidence builder, something for him to look to going forward, because they did have plans for him to be, that first guy off of the bench, if not a starter in some cases. The next guy we're going to talk about is going to be the how did I miss that player of the night, and that's Miles Turner, man. How did I miss Miles Turner going out and having such a great game at 6.5% owned, excuse me, at 6.5K, at about 24% owned. This guy was heavily owned in a lot of tournaments. He scored 40 DraftKings points solid. That was a really nice return on what you invested in him. If you had him in your lineups, I'm sure it paid dividends for you. Now, the heat check player tonight, this award doesn't always go to the guy that scores the most points. It doesn't always go to the guy that scores the most points. Here, we're talking value. We're talking spending 5.2K on a player, and I'm going out and dropping 50. And that's Evan Fournier, man. If you didn't have Evan Fournier in your lineups, I doubt you made it to the leaderboard. This dude went nuts. Very great game from Evan Fournier, and the ownership was particularly low. He was about 11% owned in most GPPs at 5.2K, ended up scoring 50 DraftKings points. Very nice game for Evan Fournier. And now we've reached a point in the show where we have to talk about that one motherfucker. Now, I don't know what to do with a motherfucker who already owe me money. You already owe me money. That's like getting a loan on top of a loan. You ain't paid back the shit you borrowed from me the other day. But you stole again. This gentleman stole 6.3K from me. Went out and was 18% owned. Pretty nice ownership on a guy that's 6.3K and goes out and scores 23.25 DraftKings points and is the snowflake of the night. Jabari Parker, thank you. You are now tied with Hassan Whiteside as the leader for Snowflake of the Year. Whoever gets the most Snowflake of the Night's awards is going to be the Snowflake of the Year. You are 2. Hassan Whiteside has 2. You are both tied for Snowflake of the Year in the early going. Thank you. You may not make the All-Star team, but if you keep on doing what you're doing, you're going to make the Snowflake of the Year award. That's your bet. With your snowflake ass. Moving on. We're going to jump into a quick recap of last night's games. We are going to start with the early games, just because we've got to look at where we've been if we want to get a good idea of where we're going. And we are going to start in Philadelphia, where the Cleveland Cavaliers came to town, and I'm talking about they wrecked shop, man. LeBron James, another triple-double, 26 points for him, 10 boards, 13 assists, and a steal in 41 minutes. They actually kept the game just close enough to see that fourth quarter starters, the Cleveland fourth quarter starters, which was excellent. If you played a lot in this game, you definitely got your money's worth. Kevin Love had 25 points and 11 boards to go with an assist. Tristan Thompson got a double-double with 12 and 12. Pretty nice with 2 blocks as well. And Kyrie Irving, man, he went off almost 40. He had 39 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, and 2 steals for him. On the Philadelphia side of the ball, we saw a really nice game from Joel Embiid. This is definitely a confidence boost. I kind of hate that a good game against Cleveland was wasted on a 2-game slate, because the next time he comes out, I imagine the price is going to be going up a little bit. So after a while, we're not going to be able to roster Joel Embiid under 7K. So let's get our fill while we can. In 25 minutes, still under that restriction, he had 22 points to go with 9 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 blocks. Pretty good game from him. We saw 28 minutes of Sergio Rodriguez, 12 points, 2 rebounds, 7 assists, and 2 steals for him. Ersan Ilyasova had 13 points to go with 6 rebounds and assists. Pretty good game from him. And Gerald Henderson, who is probably the most underrated fantasy basketball player in the league, man. This dude goes out consistently, and he drops dubs, and he's always around 3K. I love Gerald Henderson's game. If you follow the show, you know that. I love Gerald Henderson's game. In 31 minutes, he had 13 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, and 1 block. And he is the perfect fantasy play, because he never goes ham. He never goes like Jeremy Lamb ham, where he jumps up almost $2,000 in salary the next game, but he does just enough to maybe go up 100 or two, and then come back 100. He's a really this dude. He must play DFS because he understands the game. He does. Pretty good game from him. We also saw Robert Covington kind of shit the bed, man. Only played 20 minutes, had 8.6 boards and 1 steal. Nick Stauskas, little Sauce, had 11 points to go with 3 rebounds and 4 assists. Pretty nice game for him. The next game we're going to get into that was also on that early 2-game slate. And this was such a waste, man. It was such a waste that this wasn't an all-day slate, because there's a player in this game a couple players in this game that I really loved, and I would have definitely had in my lineups had this been a part of DraftKings main slate. The first guy I'm going to talk about is going to be Eric Bledsoe, man. He had an excellent game. 35 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. 60 DraftKings points for him. Devin Booker got into the action in 35 minutes, and he saw 30 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, and 1 steal. Tyson Chandler came back with a vengeance, grabbing 15 boards and 10 points to go with 2 blocks. PJ Tucker even had 21 and 8, and he was somebody that I was looking at. This game should have been in the main slate, man. God. Marcus Chris is still stealing space. I don't understand him. 10 minutes, 2 points, 1 block. Next man up. Brandon Knight in 17 minutes had 11 points to go with 2 rebounds. On the Denver side of the ball, we saw another good game from Wilson Chandler. 25 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, and 3 steals. We've got to keep an eye on him going forward. Moutier, 19 points to go with 4 rebounds and 6 assists for him. Not a good game for the rookie Jamal Murray, man. 21 minutes, had 9 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists for him. Nikolai Jokic, another double-double, 13 to go with 11 boards, 3 assists, and 1 block. Yusuf Nurkic, not a very good game from him, but Jameer Nelson scored 21 points and had 2 rebounds and 3 assists. The next game we're getting to is going to be the Brooklyn Nets at home against the Sacramento Kings. Boogie went ham. He just did. Had a really great game. In 35 minutes, he had 37 points and 11 rebounds to go with 2 assists, 4 steals, and 1 block. Kind of filled up the stat sheet. Really good Boogie game from him. Rudy Gay, man, had 22 points. He flirted with a triple-double. 8 rebounds, 8 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. Nice game from Rudy Gay. We saw Ty Lawson, 13 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and 1 steal for him. Darren Collison had 18 points to go with 2 rebounds, 2 assists, and 1 steal. Pretty nice game on the Sacramento side altogether. Brooklyn side of the ball, Bojan Bogdanovic, 27 minutes. He had 13 points to go with a rebound and 2 assists. We saw Sean Kilpatrick have a really nice game. In only 29 minutes, he had 22 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals. Isaiah Whitehead, I was off him altogether, but he did have a decent game. He had 11 points, 4 boards, 2 assists for him. Jason Hamilton, 16 points to go with 10 rebounds and 3 assists. Trevor Booker, man, 8 rebounds, 8 points, 5 assists, and 1 steal. Not a very good game from him. The next game we're going to get into is the Orlando Magic going up against the Milwaukee Bucks. Milwaukee Bucks are traveling to Orlando. Man, this game had so many twists and turns pre-lock that it kind of fucked up a lot of my lineups. I should have did a lot better, but sometimes you can let the news that's like breaking consume you. Breaking news can consume you to the point to where you're rostering cats like Aaron Gordon and Biyombo, you know, even John Henson, which worked out really well for me actually. So in 30 minutes, Giannis Antetokounmpo had 18 points to go with 9 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, and 3 blocks for him. We also saw Jabari Parker. We talked about him. The snowflake ass had 9 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists. We saw a pretty decent game, of course, from Tony Snell. He has 7 points to go with 8 rebounds and 1 steal. And John Henson, man, he balled out. 20 points, 7 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, and 3 blocks for him. Greg Monroe in 16 minutes had 11 points to go with 7 boards, an assist, and a steal. And Malcolm Brogdon, man, he played 20 minutes, had 12 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and 1 steal. And we also saw Michael Beasley get into the action with 13 points, 6 rebounds, and 1 assist for him. On the Orlando side, the heat check player of the night was over here balling. I'm talking balling, giving it to him, doing everything. Evan Fournier, man, 27 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals. Great game from him. Nikolai Vucevic, 17 points, 16 boards, 3 assists, and a block. Nice game from him. We also saw Serge Ibaka in 32 minutes had 19 points to go with 6 rebounds, 1 assist, and 2 blocks. Aaron Gordon, man, this dude did not score a point. This dude did not score a point. And it's my fault, and it's your fault if you rostered him, because the news broke late. The news broke right before lock, and he goes out and scores 0 points. He had 8 boards, 3 assists, and 1 steal. Not a very good game from him. And Biyombo, man, 32 minutes. He got in early foul trouble, was sitting out like the whole second quarter, but he had 4 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, and 2 blocks. The next game we're going to get into is going to be the Indiana Pacers without Paul George at home against the Clippers. Now, I've been kind of off Chris Paul as of late because they've been blowing teams out, and I haven't been seeing him in the fourth quarter. But this was not that type of game, man. This was not the type of game. I had to go back and actually watch the condensed game to see exactly where these guys went wrong, and it was just a bad performance all around. Chris Paul, 32 minutes he played. He had 13 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and 1 block. Blake Griffin had 16 and 9 to go with 3 assists, and DeAndre Jordan did grab 14 boards, but only had 8 points, 3 blocks, and a steal. Not a good game at all on the Clippers side, and they got blown out. On the Indiana side, we knew that Paul George wasn't going to be playing, so we did see Glenn Robinson III, and he had 17 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist in 38 minutes. Miles Turner had a really good game, 17 and 12 to go with 3 assists and 1 block. He was the how did I miss that play tonight. Jeff Teague, man, he had 10 assists, but he had 2 rebounds and 7 points. Not a very good game from him. 2 steals and a block also went with that. Al Jefferson had 8 rebounds and 16 points to go with 2 assists. Pretty nice game from him. We also saw Rodney Stuckey get 12 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists to go with a steal. Thad Young, not a good game from him at all. He has 6 rebounds, 11 points, 1 assist, and 1 steal. But they did win this game 91-70. The next game we're going to get into, it's going to be the Dallas Mavericks at home against the New Orleans Pelicans. Nice game from Harrison Barnes, man. He played 41 minutes. He had 23 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal. Good game from him. Andrew Bogut, he grabbed 14 boards, but he only had 5 points and 3 assists to go with the block. Wesley Matthews started shooting hot, and in 38 minutes he scored 21 points to go with 3 rebounds and 3 assists. Pretty good game from him. Lil bruh, Seth Curry had 10 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists. And Justin Anderson had a really good game in solid minutes, 22 to be exact. He had 14 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 assists. Pretty nice game from him. On the New Orleans Pelicans side, Tim Frazier, man, disappointed. 8 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals. I think that Drew Holiday is slowly creeping his way back into the starting rotation, as he should be. He went out in 31 minutes and had 17 points and 4 rebounds to go with 6 assists. Pretty nice game from him. AD, we talked about him already, 36 points, 13 boards, 3 assists, and 2 steals to go with the block. Nice game from him. And we didn't see much else from the New Orleans Pelicans side, man. Even, Terrence Jones, man, if AD is playing, Terrence Jones is a non-factor. He only played 12 minutes, and he had 2 points, 2 rebounds, and 2 steals. Not a good game from him at all. Next game we're going to get into is probably the most entertaining game of the night. It was close for most of the game, but as they do, the Houston Rockets pulled away from the Trailblazers late into the third quarter, kind of early into the fourth. Trevor Ariza in 32 minutes had 18 points to go with 2 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals. Pretty underwhelming game from Patrick Beverley. This dude played 34 minutes and had 1 point. 1 point. 32 minutes. 34 minutes. He had 1 point. 3 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 blocks. Horrible game from Patrick Beverley. James Harden, man, 38 points. 2 rebounds, which was kind of surprising because usually, man, he goes for the triple-double. He had 10 assists, 2 steals, and 1 block to go with that. We talked about Eric Gordon again. The Who Dat scoring all them points over there player tonight had 26 points to go with 5 rebounds and 4 assists and a steal in 29 minutes. Pretty nice game from Capella. He was 1 board shy of the double-double bonus, but he had 21 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 blocks. Pretty good game from him. On the Portland side, my man CJ McCollum went off 37 minutes. He was on the court. He had 28 points, 3 rebounds, and 7 assists to go with 2 steals. Maurice Harkless had 18 points to go with 3 rebounds and 2 steals and a block. We saw a really nice game from Evan Turner off of the bench. He had 15 points to go with 6 rebounds and 2 assists. And Dame, he didn't really go ham, but it was a very decent game for Dame. It wasn't up until like they were really down and they needed somebody to score. And he did step up. He had 27 points to go with 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and 1 steal. Pretty good game from him. Mason Plumlee kind of flirted with another triple-double again. He had 11 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists. Pretty nice game from Mason Plumlee. The next game and the last game on the slate we're going to get into is the Atlanta Hawks going to the Lakers. Going to LA to play the Lakers. Now, this game could have been a late-night hammer game, but the funny thing was Atlanta came out like smoking. Like, Atlanta came out balling. And then I mean, they scored like 36 points in the first quarter, and they scored like 14 in the next. And before you know it, the Lakers are up big on them. And then late in the fourth quarter, with like 5 minutes left to go, they're down 16. The Atlanta sits all the starters. 9 rebounds for Dwight Howard. He was 1 shy of the double-double bonus. This dude literally did not grab a rebound in the second half. Like, he had like 9 rebounds in the first half and didn't get another rebound the rest of the game. It was ridiculous. It was so hard to watch. 19 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, and 2 blocks. It looked like he was disinterested in the game. At first, he was all, yeah, I'm going to go back and do what I used to do to the Lakers, da, 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 da. And he goes out and he's playing well, and he's got 25 points at the half. And then Mozgov started getting tough with him. The refs wouldn't give him calls, and he just checked out of the game and didn't want to play anymore. So that's what you get when you roster Dwight Howard. Bays, sorry about that, Bazemore. I've been going hard on you. You're still dead to me. But you had 21 points to go to rebound, 4 assists, and 1 steal. Pretty nice game from you, dead guy. Paul Millsap, a horrible game. 9 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. You were definitely in the running to be the snowflake of the night. Paul, you definitely were. Mr. Millsap, you were in the running. Kyle Korver, man, in 31 minutes had 10 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. Pretty good game from him at that tiny price point. And we talked about Dennis Schroeder. He had 11 points, 4 rebounds, 8 assists, 1 steal, and 1 block from him. We saw Mike Muscala for 25 minutes off of the bench. He had 10 points to go with 5 rebounds and a couple blocks. Pretty good game from him. On the Lakers side, man, a lot off the bench. There was a lot of great plays off the bench. We're going to start with Sweet Lou Williams. 27 minutes. He had 21 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Pretty good game from him. Jordan Clarkson had 32 minutes. He scored 18 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals. Nice game from him. Larry Nance Jr., man, got a double-double, 12 points and 10 boards to go with 3 assists. Nice game. We saw Swaggy P for 23 minutes. He had 17 points, 1 rebound, and 1 steal. And this Robinson kid, man, he had played 15 minutes and had 9 points to go with 8 rebounds. That was a pretty solid game from him. Luol Deng, nothing. 4, 1 assist, and 1 steal. Pretty good game all around for the Lakers. They beat the dog shit out of the Atlanta Hawks. Now, let us jump into the player pricing for tomorrow's slate. And we do this because we just want to lay our eyes on prices and players and put them together and see if we can establish a kind of an impromptu player pool in our head so that when we build our core four, we're working with faces and names and guys that we already know. First, we can check out my this is my best DraftKings lineup on the day. Sad thing is, this was only a part of the early slate. As you can see, J.R. Smith sucked, but I had Eric Bledsoe with a 60 points. J.R. Smith, LeBron James, 62. Kevin Love, 43. Embiid, 45. Sergio Rodriguez, 29. Wilson Chandler, 45. Jamal Murray, 17. And this lineup finished at 311.75 DraftKings points. This was from the early slate. My best one from the late slate, I believe it was 289. Yeah, 289. Now this one was we had Dennis Schroeder, of course, C.J. McCollum, Aaron Gordon, who really disappointed us here, didn't score any points but had 16.5 DraftKings points. Harrison Barnes, Dwight Howard, DJ Augustine, Ryan Anderson, and Anthony Davis. And this lineup finished with 289 DraftKings points. Now, let us check out the player pricing. Let me make a quick adjustment here to the camera. Bang. All right. Okay. And tomorrow is 7 games. You know how I feel about these type of slates. I love this. This is where I live. I'm good right now. The 5 and 4 and 6 and 15 and 30 games have been killing me. A nice, manageable 7-game slate. I can definitely deal with this. All right. All right, we're going to start with the most expensive play on the slate, and it is, of course, Russell Westbrook. He is at 12.5K right here. All right, Russell Westbrook at 12.5K against the New York Knicks. I kind of like that. I think that might be a tasty play. But you know how I feel about 7-game slates and rostering the most expensive player. I probably will totally fade Russell Westbrook tomorrow. Steph Curry at 9.3 against Atlanta. Atlanta's going to be on the back-to-back. I like Steph Curry in that game. John Wall, I love him tomorrow against the Sacramento Kings. He is probably going to be somewhere around the core 4. If he's not in it, he's going to be around there. Kyle Lowry is probably my favorite play on the complete slate. Going to Toronto at home against Philadelphia. Point guards at home is going to be a theme for me tomorrow. Kyle Lowry's at 8.1. We've got Kemba on the road in Memphis. I don't like that matchup for Kemba. We saw what happened last time, and that was in Charlotte. So if you can imagine what's going to happen in Memphis, especially if Nick Batum is out. Isaiah Thomas at Miami, I don't like that very much. George Hill at Minnesota, love that. Mike Conley, not so much. Goran Dragic, he may be out tomorrow. Derrick Rose, that's going to be a nice play if you're looking for that 6K point guard. Dennis Schroeder, Golden State, 5.5. I kind of like that a little bit. Darren Collison against Washington, 5.5. That's pretty sweet. Tyler Johnson, 5.1 against Boston. I don't like that too much. Brandon Jennings at 4,000. The price is creeping up on Brandon Jennings. Ty Lawson at 8.3. You got Thomas Satoransky at 3.8. Not much in the way of point guards if you're not going to the top. But we're going to check out everybody. DeMarcus Cousins is 10.1. That's a pretty fair price for him in a fast-paced, up-tempo game at Washington. I kind of like that a little bit. I like Boogie tomorrow. Kevin Durant, 9.9 against Atlanta. Steph Curry, we talked about him. Hassan Whiteside, 8.5 against Boston. Now, we know where to attack Boston. It's the rebounding. We may not have to go Whiteside, but we know we can attack Boston rebounding. I kind of like Whiteside tomorrow. DeMar DeRozan, against Philly at 8.4. That's a little too pricey for me. Maybe a blowout as well. Karl-Anthony Towns against Utah. If this game was in Utah, I wouldn't like him very much. But the fact that the game is in Minnesota, it makes me kind of like him a little bit here. We got Melo, who I like Melo tomorrow at 7.7 against OKC at home. Draymond Green is questionable. Porzingis 7.5. I kind of like him tomorrow. Dwight Howard, no. Millsap, no. Gordon Hayward. I can get some Gordon Hayward. 7.1. Yeah, I can get some Gordon Hayward. Bradley Beal, 6.9. That might be a decent play. Rudy Gay, I don't know about him. Him and Markieff Morris may cancel each other out, so I'm not sure how I feel about that. Marc Gasol, 6.7. Not so much. Nicholas Batum, he probably is going to be out tomorrow. We need to stay informed on Twitter about that. Al Horford at 6.6 against Miami. Boston against Miami. I could go for some Al Horford tomorrow. Victor Oladipo, I like him at 6.6 against the Knicks. Andrew Wiggins against Utah, no. Rudy Gobert, 6.4 against Cat. If they were at home, I would like him. But no, I don't like him. Joel Embiid against Toronto. I like Joel Embiid. 6.4 tomorrow. I like him tomorrow if he plays. Klay Thompson, I like him at 6.3. Otto Porter, 6.1. That price has come down on Otto just a little bit. So I think he could be in play tomorrow. Gortat, 6K. I don't like that at all. Zach LaVine, 5.9 against Utah. I don't like that. Gorgui Dieng at home against Utah. No Derek Favors. I can get you instance on Gorgui Dieng. I like him. Dion Waiters, we got to see if he's going to be playing or not. He's questionable at this point. Jonas Valanciunas, I do not like him against Joel Embiid. Rodney Hood, no, I don't like him tomorrow. You got he could be a good player, but I don't like him tomorrow. I don't like Rodney Hood tomorrow. Dennis Schroeder, we talked about him. Marcus Smart, Frank Kaminsky can be a decent play against Memphis. We got to find out if Zach Randolph is going to be playing. He was out the last game. I think it was a personal issue, though, so it may not be anything injury-related. Markieff Morris, like I said, in this game, if I'm going to take a power forward, it's going to be, of course, between Markieff Morris and Rudy Gay. The fact that Markieff Morris is so much cheaper than Rudy Gay kind of has me leaning towards Markieff Morris. He's at home. He's cheaper. I think he might be a good play tomorrow. Steven Adams at 5.1. I like him against the Knicks, of course. Kent Bazemore is dead to me still. Zach Randolph, we talked about him. JaMychal Green, Jahlil Okafor at 5K, no thank you. MKG at 4.9, no thank you. Cody Zeller, he's up to 4.8. He was just 4K flat. That 4.8 is going to make me scratch my head a little bit against Memphis at the Grindhouse. But if he stays at that price, I will definitely roster him the next time out. Trey Lyles against Minnesota. That could be a good play because we know Derek Favors is going to be out. I kind of like Trey Lyles. James Johnson, no. Matt Barnes, he's probably going to get suspended at some point for what he did today. Jeremy Lamb at 4.3. Dude goes out and scores 40-something points, and he goes from 3K to 4.3. I don't like him. Definitely not the Grindhouse. Enes Kanter might be a really good play tomorrow for the cheap 4.3 coming off of Oklahoma City's bench, playing against the Knicks. That might be good. Marvin Williams going to be out, so we know we're going to get some value somewhere on the Charlotte Hornets side. But the question is, do you want to take a chance of playing a guy from a slow-paced game at the Grindhouse? Grizzlies at home. Mike Conley. I think I'm gonna stay away from that game. DeMarre Carroll, 4.2. The price is going up on him steadily, but I do like him tomorrow. Tony Allen, I like him tomorrow against the Hornets. Roberson, no. Saric, no. Mike Muscala, no. Vince Carter, no. Spencer Hawes can be in play. Brandon Jennings, no. Cole Aldridge. So we've got some decent plays on the slate for tomorrow. So we can definitely look to Sergio Rodriguez is down at 3.6 tomorrow. Now if Bayless doesn't play, Sergio Rodriguez starts, that might be a nice play. Norman Powell, Amir Johnson, okay. Hernan Gomez, my man Gerald Henderson at 3.5. I like that value. Yeah. Jaja 3.4. Gotta like him. So now that we've taken a second to look over the player pricing, let's go ahead and jump into tomorrow's point totals. So we should already have like a player pool that's kind of swirling around in our head. These point totals are going to really solidify how much salary we want to invest in each game, or if we want to invest in a particular game at all. Let's start in Washington, where the Sacramento Kings are going to take on the Wizards. This is a 212 point total, with the home team, the Washington Wizards, giving up 4.5 points. I like this game. I like this game a lot. I love John Wall. He's probably one of my 3 or 4 favorite plays on the entire slate. Definitely my second favorite point guard play on the slate, behind the guy we're going to talk about later. I really like him tomorrow. Boogie is going to be in play. I do not like Gortat. I think Boogie's going to manhandle him, which would actually make way for people like Otto Porter and Markieff Morris. A lot of people are going to go Rudy Gay in this game, but I like Markieff Morris. Like we talked about earlier, he's just cheaper. They're at home. I see Washington winning this game, and I also see John Wall like really being a part of the reason why they win this game. I see him getting really, really close. He's a guaranteed double-double points and assists, but I see him getting really close on the rebounding end too. So I do like John Wall tomorrow. I like Markieff Morris. I kind of like Otto Porter. I think that is a stack we can use. And also to counter it with Boogie would be really nice. Darren Collison, I haven't seen enough from him yet. I haven't seen what I want to see from Darren Collison yet to roster him with confidence. He's somebody who I looked to a lot last year, but I think he's taken exception to not being immediately thrust back into the starting role. But bro, you hit the chicks. You can't do that. You can't just do that and go run and get your job back. No. Even if we know you're better than Ty Lawson, but Ty Lawson doesn't hit chicks and get caught. You did. So you got to do your time on the bench, jump off of the bench, do your best. All right? To complete the Sacramento side of the ball, now you got Garrett Temple, revenge. Now he played with Washington, and he's a pretty decent shooter. I mean, especially if Flalo jacks up the first 3 threes and they sit his ass down, then Garrett Temple comes in and he plays pretty well. So I'm looking for a cheap punt play. Garrett Temple is definitely an area I can go and try to exploit. So if I had to choose anybody from the Sacramento side, it would be Garrett Temple, Boogie, of course, number 1. Maybe a little Rudy Gay if I hear something about Markieff Morris that I don't like throughout the day. On the Washington side, Otto, Markieff, and of course, John Wall is going to definitely be in play. Players to avoid, it's going to be Darren Collison. Avoid him on the Sacramento side. And on the Washington side, avoid Marcin Gortat, please. The next game we're going to get into is going to be the Boston Celtics traveling to the Miami Heat to give them a run for their money. Boston is going to beat the Heat in Miami. We're not going to see Goran Dragic. We're going to see a lot of Tyler Johnson. There is no point total right now for this game because we have those injuries looming. Boston's going to be at full strength, man. They're going to have Crowder. They're going to have Horford. They're going to have Isaiah Thomas. Everybody's going to be full strength. I'm stacking the Boston tomorrow, even though this is probably going to be a low point total. This team is just so good when they're all together that I really see I see the ownership being kind of depressed on the Boston side for the simple fact that they're playing against Miami. But I think this is a really stackable joint where we can go with a Miami big, probably Whiteside, of course, and then we can maybe do a kind of a cheap Boston stack where you do Isaiah, Crowder, and Horford. You know, something like that. I like that. I like that somewhere along those lines. On the Miami side, you got to look at Tyler Johnson, especially if he's going to be getting the start. Josh Richardson is probably going to be seeing an increase in minutes with Justice Winslow and Goran Dragic out. If you want to sift through that crap, man, and pick some guys, you're going to hit on somebody. Dion Waiters may or may not be playing. If you want to sift through there, you can definitely find some value. The game is seven game slate. I got guys already I'm eyeing that I like. I'm just not going to waste my time digging through the Miami trash. But I do like Hassan Whiteside tomorrow because, of course, we know Boston, out of all the good teams, Boston is the worst team rebounding. You can always start a big against Boston or the opposing team's best rebounder, and they're going to get off. The next game I'm going to talk about is the Oklahoma City Thunder traveling to New York to take on my Knicks. This is, I believe, the highest point total on the slate. It is a 213.5 point total. There is no spread. It says even. There is no spread in this game. So, if that's true, it's going to be close. It's going to be a good game. That's screaming, I can start some cheap Knicks. That means I can start some cheap Knicks. That means I can get my John Walls, I can get my Boogies, but I can also sprinkle in a little Melo and maybe a little Porzingis, maybe a little Derrick Rose here and there, and I'll still be able to keep pace with the field that gets to Russell Westbrook and comes out with their Golden State stack to be the late night hammer. I think I can get where I need to get to early in the night where I don't have to wait to see if all of the Golden State guys are going to be going off or not. So I like a few of the New York Knicks in this game. On the Oklahoma City side, I like Depot. I'm not going to pay $12K for anyone on a 7-game slate. There's just too many guys out there that are good and that I can use. I just don't see the point of doing it. It's not even cool from an ownership standpoint because the motherfucker gonna be owned heavy anyway. Just because you Russell Westbrook and we got people that really don't know that they don't have to roster him. This dude should be 2-3% owned every night. It's ridiculous how many people own him. I'm not gonna do it. So we can go ahead and move on to the next game. The Philadelphia 76ers traveling to the Toronto Raptors. Second highest point total on the slate. This is before the Atlanta and the Golden State total comes out. It is a 213 point total with Toronto giving up 14.5 points to the Philadelphia 76ers. And I don't know if you can do that. Yeah, I said it. I don't know if you can give these Philadelphia 76ers 14.5 points if you are Toronto Raptors. I don't know if you can do that. I would definitely bet the over in the game, number one, and I would definitely take Philadelphia with the points because I don't think you can give Philly 14.5 points, especially if we see Joel Embiid. Now I haven't read any reports yet. They're gonna be coming out later in the day. But if Joel Embiid is playing, I like him in this game. If not, I love Valanciunas because we're talking about Jahlil Okafor and Richaun Holmes. So I definitely would like Valanciunas if we don't see Joel Embiid on the perimeter, Toronto perimeter. Yeah, you can definitely fire up DeRozan and Kyle Lowry. I probably won't have any DeRozan, but I do like Kyle Lowry. He's cheaper and he gets the ball in the beginning of the plays. He's a distributor, the facilitator. I like him better. He's a great point guard, and he is going to be seeing probably the other team's worst defender in either Sergio Rodriguez or Jared Bayless. DeMar DeRozan, on the other hand, is going to be seeing either Robert Covington or Gerald Henderson, both guys that are pretty decent defenders. And DeMar DeRozan is not a very good defender, so I would rather have Gerald Henderson for 3.5K myself. So, players I like from this game, players to target on the Philadelphia side are going to be Joel Embiid if he plays. I think a little Robert Covington in the bounce back game, maybe some Sergio Rodriguez, and of course Gerald Henderson. On the Toronto side, the players to avoid in this game is Jahlil Okafor. If you don't see Embiid, but Okafor starts, avoid. Don't do it. I tried it. Don't do it. On the Toronto side, players to avoid for me is going to be DeMar DeRozan. He hasn't scored one of those 40-something point games in a while. I think that's over. That was some beginning of the season hot shooting. Now, because I said this, he's going to go out and drop 50, but I won't have him anywhere on my rosters. I do like I said, I do like Valanciunas. I like Kyle Lowry tomorrow. I also like DeMarre Carroll in this game. But I think DeMar DeRozan, 8.4K, avoid. Next game I'm going to get into is going to be a game I will probably be completely fading tomorrow. It is the Charlotte Hornets traveling to the Grindhouse in Memphis, going to take on the Grizzlies. This is a 198 point total, the second lowest point total on the slate. I mean, we've got injury news coming out, and the point total is still here. Like, we're still waiting to see what's going on with Nick Batum. And he probably will be the only guy that I really would roster on the Charlotte side. Nick Batum and maybe Cody Zeller. because you've got to kind of look at them now because Marvin Williams is out. So somebody's got to pick up that. Who's going to stand around and shoot the 3-pointers? Who's going to lazily walk down to the basket and maybe grab a few rebounds? That's going to have to be split up between these guys. So I definitely think that you can go Batum if he plays, and you can go Kaminsky or Zeller, whichever one that you like. I'd probably be staying away from Kemba just because that's my dog. I may have him, and because he's such a talented player, I may have him in about 10%, maybe 10, 20% of my lineups, but he's not going to be like I usually go 60, no less than 60, even in tough matchups. Against San Antonio last week, I had Kemba 60%. That's my dog. You know what I'm saying? I like him. So on the Charlotte side, my player to avoid, if I want to tell you guys to avoid, don't play Kemba tomorrow. You don't have to do that. There's enough on the slate, but you don't have to play Kemba tomorrow. You don't have to. On the Memphis side, Mike Conley is definitely in play. You may want to avoid Zach Randolph because he might not play. You may want to avoid him. Marcus Gasol is probably a decent play, and you probably want to avoid. Excuse me. Zach Randolph is in play. You want to avoid JaMychal Green if Randolph comes back. I like Tony Allen as well in this game. And the Charlotte side, you want to avoid MKG because of that. So it's a 198 point total. You probably want to avoid most things in this game because the point total is so low, and it's only a -2.5 differential in favor of the Memphis Grizzlies. So the next game we're going to get into is going to be the Utah Jazz going to Minnesota, to Minneapolis to take on the Timberwolves. This is another low point total because we know Utah likes to set the pace at snail. This is a 195.5 point total, the lowest on the slate. The encouraging thing about it is it's a -2. It's not a big over under, and it can't be because the point total is so low. It's 195. But Minnesota is at home, and I really think that the best players on the floor at home set the pace for the game. And if somehow, some way we get Zach LaVine and Karl-Anthony Towns, these guys who like to run out and push the ball, if they can set the pace in Minnesota, we might see a higher point total and better games, which would mean better games from everybody involved. You gotta like George Hill in this game going up against Ricky Rubio. You also gotta like Trey Lyles at that price point, especially if he's going to be starting. I know Boris Diaw started a couple times last week, but Trey Lyles may be starting for Derek Favors. You can look to Rudy Gobert if you like. I'm more of a Karl-Anthony Towns person at home. I think I like him tomorrow because he's at home. Also, Wiggins, you can't really deny what Wiggins has been doing lately. He's been playing very well. Zach LaVine had a good game out last time. He may be in line for another one. So this game could go either way, man. There's a lot of things that I almost like about this game, and I'm going to be watching this game throughout the entirety of the day, seeing if any news breaks and seeing what the true lineups are before they come out. The last game on the slate is going to be a game I think a lot of people are going to have DK salary invested in, just because it's the Golden State Warriors and they're at home, and the Atlanta Hawks are going there. This game has blowout written all over them. Atlanta's on a back-to-back. One of their best players are the players that Golden State kind of just takes off of the court with their small ball lineups. So we probably won't see as much Dwight Howard as we would see if they play any other team. So that means more Paul Millsap. I do like Paul Millsap in this game because of that reason. Also, I like Dennis Schroeder because you can get off. Point guards can definitely get off against Steph Curry. And you gotta like when one of them is out, because if Draymond Green doesn't play tomorrow, I like Steph, Clay, and Durant, because that one guy does so many different things in that offense, in that defense, that if he's not playing, the focus automatically is shared between those other three guys. So if we don't see Draymond Green, I'm gonna have some investment in a Golden State stack. It's gonna have Curry, Durant, and and Klay Thompson in it. And I really believe that some values going to open up throughout the day where I can justify paying up that much in those 3 spots for 3 guys on the same team and still come out with a very good roster that I like. Now, on the Atlanta side, of course, I told you I like Dennis Schroeder. The player to avoid would be Dwight Howard. Avoid him. On the Golden State side, the player to avoid would be anybody off of the Golden State bench. Avoid them cats because it's so hard to pick which one's going to go off. So you almost have to make a roster with each one in order to know who's going to be playing well. And you don't have to do that when you can just go with Golden State starters and value plays that open up throughout the day, because this is the last game on the slate. We should know if Draymond Green is going to be playing or not before lineups lock. So that's going to be the good thing about this being a late game. Golden State is usually very good about letting us know if guys are going to be playing or resting, or if they're out, if they're injured or whatever. So this has been a recap of last night's games. We did some player pricing, got the player pool in our head. We're going to be thinking over the night, developing our core 4 plays, guys that we're going to center all of our lineups around. We're going to keep our lineups streamlined. That way, when our core hits, all our lineups hits. I want you to hit me up and say, yo, I put in 15 lineups, 14 of them cashed, 10 of them cashed nicely, 6 of them cashed huge. Those are the stories that I want to hear. And the only way we're going to hear those is if we make those core plays, stick to them, stick to the formula. If we also manage our bankroll properly, we go and look at our entire DraftKings account. Oh, I have $100 in my DraftKings account. Okay, cool. Well, guess what we do? We play 10% nightly with each endeavor. So I'm only playing $10 tonight. Of that $10, I take $8 and I play those in safe games, either cash games if you like to play those, or single entry GPPs where cats can only enter one lineup. It's got to be their best shot. That's just what it is. Then I take the other $2 and I throw those in the larger GPPs to see if I can hit it big in the big tournament. That's bankroll management. That's what we do in the DFS Sweatshop. It is called the 10% rule. On slates that we don't like and that we're not as comfortable with, we drop it down to 5%. We got to be really comfortable and confident in our lineups as we put them out. Okay? Now, this has been your DFS Jerusalem. You can follow me, of course, on Twitter at DFS Jerusalem. Thank you all for supporting the show by liking, subscribing, looking, sharing, whatever you're doing. But if you really want to support the show further, there's going to be a link under the video where you can go and you can copy some DFS Sweatshop swag. We've got t-shirts and hoodies. I have my personal PayPal is also available to you. It's simmonsmaurice95@gmail.com. If you want to leave, simmonsmaurice95@yahoo.com. If you want to leave a tip, there's also a link. It should be to the left of the video. It should be to that side of the video. That's going to say support the show. You're more than welcome to click that and support the show any way that you feel. This, of course, has been your man, DFS Jerusalem. Thanking y'all for a wonderful night of DFS. It was Sunday. We had some football going on. We're jumping into Monday. We're going to start a new week, and we're going to start a winning week. So remember, in the DFS Sweatshop, this is a spot where we always keep it 300.